What brought you to Melbourne in the first place?
Banking.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just got a role over here?
Yeah. I was working in the public sector in South Australia. I was a chief finance officer at WorkCover there for a while.
Yep.
And then I thought, you know what, I want to go into banking. And I don't really know.
You're a bit of a weirdo, eh?
It sounds like sexy, but this is a long time. You know, banking was pretty sexy back then.
Yeah, was it really?
There weren't
Jesus,
people.
Another time.
People weren't kind of, just dismissing it all the time.
Yeah.
And it was a great move. And, it was a really interesting company to work for. I did so many different things there. And I worked with some super leaders, which is where I learned a lot about my own leadership skills, but, how really, top A grade leaders operate, and was really, really interesting. But it was a real big difference from being in the public sector.
Yeah, for sure.
Because public sector was all about, what can we do for other people? And the private sector was, what can we do for ourselves?
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it.
And that's not a bad thing. So, that's just different. So it's not good or bad, it's just different. And, had its own advantages, because for once I only had to focus on one thing, which is how to make as much money for the shareholders as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas in the public sector, we had, I worked in a business that had a 9-stakeholder board, and effectively nobody was ever happy, ever.
Yep.
And that was quite stressful.
Yep.
But in a different way.
Okay, cool. So how long did you spend basically from starting your career to, how long did you spend in the corporate world, would you say?
Oh, well, I was going to give my age away. Probably about 25 years.
25 years.
25, yeah,
Yep.
25 to 28 years.
Yeah.
Doing different things, yeah.
Yeah, and then what was the catalyst to actually, I know you might have briefly mentioned it in your introduction to yourself, but what was the catalyst to going, all right, cool, I see that there's a market here, I want to get out and I want to do my own thing and I want to help people in, whether it be, we obviously started getting to know each other and talking heavily, which was around leadership, which I'm very, I'm obsessed by it, to be perfectly honest, because I'm in that role.
Yeah.
And then obviously the wellness stuff, but like what was the catalyst to have you, make that move and try and help other people rather than stay in the, corporate world?
Yeah, two things. One is, I think in the corporate world, one of my great strengths, other than just the technical, was actually leading teams. And quite often I'd been given teams that probably weren't functioning to their best, and really working with them, getting them really engaged and really using the skills in the team, because I always believe that people have got far more potential than they even believe in.
Yeah.
And that kind of thought was just always stretching everybody, and myself. And I always love working with people who want to keep stretching me as well. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that leadership aspect, learnt a lot about how to do leadership, because I was a bit like you, I was obsessed with it, because I knew that was the kind of key to success, really. Yeah. Working with people and working through people. Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time learning about that and understanding that, and reading it, talking to leaders, what they do, and then using probably some of my teams are probably guinea pigs on a few expeditions about what different things we were doing. Sure. But then I had a real burnout in my career, and so a lot of people talk about burnout, but for me it was really quite terrible, because I had started to lose my memory.
Really?
Yeah. So it was really bad. So it was, and I had a role that was really reliant on people would walk up and say, Jack, how much lending have we got in home loans in Victoria? Yep. And you go, and I used to be able to.
Where's Victoria?
I used to just be able to. I used to be able to go, oh, we've got this, we got that, we got that, and then I was like, oh, I'm not actually sure anymore, and so that's really quite confidence destroying. Oh yeah. And had quite a reasonable profile role at different times of the year, so particularly in the annual reporting cycle. Yep. I would sit with the CFO and that, and. It's, you could see people starting to look at me and like, oh, what's going on? So that was terrible. And
so that was because I've been in that position before, where I feel like when I'm really anxious, I get anxious and stressed and depressive bits and pieces, whatever. Yeah. But I've often said that, and I think studies have shown. I saw an article about it just the other day on short-term memory loss through anxiety, and because I feel like I remember my brother and I were driving through the United States. and we were driving from LA to Las Vegas.
Yep.
And doing this road trip. We're driving past all this really cool stuff, and there was a funny bit of graffiti on a street sign or on a mural. And I don't remember what it was, and I didn't pick up what it was. So basically, my brother goes, "Oh, look at that, bro," and pointed over, and I was like, "What? Where?" Because I was at this point in time, I was so unfathomably anxious and stressed. Yeah. And my brother looked at me and he was like, "What's the matter, right, mate?" Like,
you're kind of more in your head than anywhere else.
I couldn't. He pointed to a sign, a funny sign, and obviously right now I'd be like, "Oh, that's great," But I swear, like my IQ drops 20, 30 points when I'm in that. Yeah, mode, not so much memory, but IQ. My brain is just it's overworked.
It's harder because you got that. If you think about it, it's that fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just freeze, which is the reduction in IQ.
Yeah, that's right. And people don't talk about the freeze.
No, everyone talks about fight or flight.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of freeze goes on because if you think about corporate environments and working mode, if you in whatever you're doing really, but particularly in corporate environments, you're sitting around a table, and if you're feeling like you actually want to get out of there, the only thing you can do then is freeze.
Yeah.
And you can actually see people do that around the table. But at this, I was talking about that time, I was kind of like me. I would be, my wife always says my best offense is a good defense.
Yep.
Or my best defense is a good offense.
Yes.
Which I really go, if I'm cornered, I'll go.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't pick you for that.
No, that's right. That's, so maybe in an understated way.
Yeah.
But it
how many lines have we got in Victoria at the moment, Jack?
How many fucking lines you got in Victoria, mate?
Something like that.
No, it's probably more like, what, don't you know?
Yeah. Why don't you tell me?
What don't you know?
Yeah,
shouldn't you know this? Or they're like, well, hang on.
Shifting the blame. Just a real buck passer.
That's right, yeah. It's corporate Australia. No, but that would be one of my, but I would get the more freeze, and that would be inappropriate for the time. And that was interesting, but it is there was a lot of stuff going on for me personally and professionally at the time.
Yeah.
And I think it just wore me down. And, there are long hours and there's lots of stress in those roles. And so that kind of got me to, how do I fix that?
Yeah.
And I think I was a little bit embarrassed to actually go and ask someone for help. Yeah. And so I do what I normally do. I go read up on it.
Yep.
And look up stuff and try stuff out. I go, well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try. Maybe I can meditate. I'll try that.
Really?
And I should sleep more. Yeah. Okay, sure. I'll just go sleep more.
Yeah.
Or sleep in a better way. And
with your eyes closed.
Yeah, with the eyes closed.
I've been fucking staring at the ceiling this whole time.
or not reading my email from work just before I'm about to go to sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
And go, because there's always something terrible.
Yeah.
But nothing you could do anything about it.
Blue light.
That's right, and the blue lights and all that stuff. And I just kind of started working on that. And then kind of the food I was eating, and then kind of changing that. Yeah. And that over time that made a difference. And I kind of was getting to the end of my corporate career anyway.
Yeah.
Because I was getting to do I want to keep doing this or do I want something else? And I really got to that. And I thought, the one area which I really love is helping people, because I think one of the things I always did was really good getting the most out of everyone.
Yep.
I think, well, could I pass some of this on? I see people doing wellbeing stuff, but I don't think they're doing it in the way that I want to do it, which is all about performance. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about just feeling good for the sake of feeling good, which is a good end, I guess. But it was about really more a sports view.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be well. We're going to keep our team well, but we're going to do that because we want to
be excellent.
Win the premiership.
Yeah, for sure. It's
That's
like
right.
a sports psychologist for business, like a business psychologist.
It was that view, and that's the view that I'm really working on, is how do we get better at what we do, as opposed to just bean bags and fruit boxes at the front counter for people.
Yeah, right.